For
Yo, the comments are nuts. Well, hey Trey, you know John wasn't late because he ain't no color people time. I'm gonna raise my hand. I'm gonna say this though. This show, if it was anything like Backstage, this show is going to be a smoker. And I want to say this: we have built something so special that you guys show up on time, ready to rock. They're ready to go, guys. Like they was ready for this, Holmes.
And they're coming up with all type of names. This is episode 84, Patrick Creighton, the drop. And hey, what a good day because we also dropped the flu stuff. So it's all good, y'all.
Wait.
Of course.
You mean to tell me they called Flus and said,
"Screw you, you're fired."
Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Yes,
Cowboys Collective.
This man has a family, guys. He has a family. They might be watching.
Hey, with all due respect to the Flus family.
Screw you.
No, I'm just.
Hey, go ahead.
Wow.
Hey, let this replace the other history that they talking about, the Romo drop, because everywhere I went to, they said this day reminds us of the January the 6th, 2006 or 7, whatever it was that year that he had to drop. So let this be the anniversary of us firing Matt Eberflus instead. Let's get it.
Hey, we need some type of good news.
Good news.
Cowboys oh, you know what, John? They know you too. Somebody in the comments knows you. Know that you're Duke fandom. Cowboys Collective, episode 84, the best podcast in the world. Come on, Steele.
Come on, let's go, baby.
He has a little bit bigger of a smile because he is the coordinator guy on this show, and he's happy. And I gotta admit, I'm loving the way they move. We're gonna jump right into it. Here's Johnny. John, what did you hear about this? The only thing I want
for this Duke
you,
comment.
John,
Hold on. What did they say about Duke?
Oh Lord, y'all got John. Y'all got John in the comment box. No,
bro, don't mess with Duke. This is what he said. I'll pull it up. He said
Duke is never the underdog. Just remember that.
He said Machota was late because of the Duke Louisville game.
That's not wrong.
Actually,
they were an underdog. They were an underdog tonight.
The way we are about the Dallas Cowboys is how John is about the Duke Blue Devils. So just be careful. Tread lightly in the comments is all I'm saying.
What are the Carolina fans and what are you?
I'm gonna get something from my boy Quinn for you, John. Remember that. I got something for you from Quinn.
Okay.
My boy. Now I can name drop a little bit. Anyway, John, the speed in which it happened. Give us the details. Give us what you're hearing. A few reports about the players were like really done. A few players may be gone too. But anyway, let's talk about Matt.
No, don't gloss over that, Foots. I ain't letting you gloss over that. You know that, right?
I know you're not. I know you're not. Hold me accountable still.
There's people out there that do a good job on the with all the different social media platforms, gathering all the likes and things of certain
That's
comments.
That's not your style. We know that, yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. I mean, I keep up with it. I don't write about it, but I do keep up with it. And I will say this year being around the team, I never heard on or off the record a player just openly rip Matt Eberflus, but there were a lot of, I've covered the team long enough. I've been around enough defensive coordinators. There weren't anyone that I really felt like was getting his back either. You know, they including Brian Schottenheimer. You know, I thought when we look back on Brian Schottenheimer's first year, you know, a lot of it will be, you know, how he handled a lot of things off the field stuff, obviously the passing of Marshawn Nealon and things like that. But we might look back on how professional he acted about Matt Eberflus and that whole defensive situation, because he never, ever ripped Matt Eberflus like I thought maybe some other coaches would have. And maybe that's just because he's in his first year, or maybe that's just not his style, which I think that's probably more of what it is. but I never heard anyone really defend Matt Eberflus or what the defense was doing. And so you could tell that there's a lot of frustration. And I think that's why an organization like the Cowboys that we know tends to take a long time with a lot of these decisions, waited less than 2 days after the final game of the season. And we're like, all right, we're making this change now. And it just, to me, feels a lot like 2020, where it was like moving on from Mike Nolan and we don't have time to try and get a up and coming DC. And we'll get into this. And that's why I don't believe that will be the case. I do believe that it will be a veteran type coach, because you need Brian Schottenheimer to be focused on being the head coach and on the offense. You don't need him in defensive team meeting rooms. You don't need him spending time going over with the DC about how he needs to, maybe you leave the sideline and coach from up in the booth. Like, you can't have that. You have to have somebody where you're like, they can take care of that side of the ball. Players are bought in. Players are learning and adapting to what this system is, what this coach wants to do. And so I think that's what will ultimately happen. But I also think they will bring in multiple candidates and interview multiple people, even though I bet they have a really good idea of who they want. And so to me, there's 4 names that stand out, and we'll get into those later on in the show.
Don't tease them. Don't tease them yet.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention them, but to me, it's like a clear 4 right now. But that can also change. Depending on how long they wait. There could be more firings of head coaches. I mean, this has been a wild last couple of days when you see some of the moves that have been made, to most notably John Harbaugh. And so because of that, maybe there are some guys out there that they're still considering that are still in coaching positions right now. But I think there are a lot of good candidates available. This is not one of those where you look at it and you're like, man, well, I guess they could get this. Well, maybe that guy will be okay. Maybe this, like, there's some really good candidates that are out there that I think would want to turn around this Cowboys defense. Because that's the thing. A lot of people look at it as it's so bad. And, why would anybody want to do this? I really do see this as being another Dan Quinn situation where you could turn this thing around in a year or two and be right back in and at the top of the heap on, head coaching openings around the league if you turn around this defense. And I do believe that players, particularly guys like Quinn and Williams, I know J.W. and Clowney, don't think that they're as far away as what they showed this year on the field. And so we do get, I'll let you guys go. I just wanted to end with this one on my thoughts.
Take your time, bro.
We do get Brian Schottenheimer, Stephen Jones, and Jerry Jones tomorrow, press conference tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Central Time. So I'm interested to hear what their thoughts are on what they're going to be looking for. And then also, have they talked to some of the players? I hope they have. I'm sure Brian has a good pulse on that, but like some of the top guys, veteran guys, Osa, Kenny Clark, obviously Quinn and Williams, about what they think went wrong, because that was Monday and Tuesday. So yesterday and today was the player exit meetings, and Brian told us the other day that it was not just, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to tell you guys everything that you did right and wrong this year. He's like, there's also going to be time for, I want you to tell me what I did wrong. How can I be a better coach? What didn't I do that you thought I should have? And then also about the whole program. And so I think that they will have a good idea of what the players are looking for and what's the best fit for them as well. But I just want to hear what they have to say tomorrow. And the other reason I'm bringing that up is because that's probably the last time we're going to hear from those 3 for a little bit.
Right.
So that will be probably a good time if you aren't working tomorrow, or you are working and you want to get out of work. I'm sure that they'll have the press conference live on DallasCowboys.com. But yeah, 11:30 Central Time, that's going to start.
I know you'll ask some great questions too.
John, I know you're going to ask some great questions, but I just wanted to know just this one thing tomorrow: how much of an input and impact of Brian Schottenheimer will have as it relates to this defensive coordinator and entries. That's what we really want to know, as far as the fan base, of how much control or input Schottenheimer will have in this particular discovery of new defense coordinator.
No, that's rightfully so, because you look across the league, the well-run organizations, that's how it goes down. So yeah, you would hope that is the case. And yeah, that'll be interesting to hear how they answer that. But I also will say, because of how things worked with Dan Quinn, I do believe there's candidates out there that are similar to Dan, where I do think that you can turn it around pretty quickly. I'm not saying you're going to go from arguably the worst defense in franchise history to top 5, but you could go 10 or 15. And if you do that with that offense, you're probably, if you would have done that this year, you're still playing right now.
Yep.
Man, great stuff, John.
Same time.
Love the I love that how you got into the details about how they made it happen. I want to say this still. Broadus, who's one of the OGs in the game, especially in the draft world. John, you know him. Law, you know him.
Uh-huh.
He went out and said, Sky, he said me and your name. I was like, really? But
Wow.
he
Shout out to
on their show that the Joneses, some of this stuff that we talk about gets to their desk. Now, I don't know how I know Law stuff. I know they know who Law Nation is. But like the fact that he said Will and Foots, I know because they see John every day. But I'm like, so it's crazy because I did have a tweet where I just said 10 to 12 days is crazy. And I'm team coach. I'm team give guys chance. But that's crazy. We're not doing that. Like 10 to 12 days, move on.
I never believed that.
You didn't believe that, Sky?
Absolutely not. I don't mean to do this because me and Jane had a little fun back and forth.
Oh, I want to hear this.
Yeah, just go take a look. I feel like that's just that's just them gaslighting us, like a whole 10 to 12 day thing, and then they do it sooner, and we're like, oh, awesome. But in reality, they didn't take long in 2020 either, y'all. Like we forgot they fired him literally the same week of the hiring process or whatever. So they did this, and then it was the same situation. Really, first year head coach, somebody else's decision. It wasn't Flus's decision, or it wasn't Shoddy's decision. It was the front office. The previous year regime, it wasn't McCarthy. I'm sorry, it wasn't the front office decision. It was McCarthy, right? So it just kind of flipped in that way. I'm with John in that they understand they don't have time. 10 to 12 days. Yeah, come on.
That's a long time in football days.
Oh. There's teams that are going to be hiring guys by then. So I just never bought that for me.
I took it and I was still pissed off about the Cowboys, so I ranted with it. So yeah, 10 to 12 days, but it was like more like 10 to 12 minutes or collectively 1 to 2 days, basically, to be fair. But yeah, you're right, Sky. It's too much that we got left out here. And I would like to know for the Cowboys when they're going to have their first interview, and it's a serious interview, not just some Rooney Rule, a qualifier quotations, what have you, quote. But I would love for the Cowboys to take their time, but still have the sense of urgency, if that can make any sense to anyone, right?
Yeah, no.
Sense of urgency, but take their time.
I mean,
be thorough.
Yeah, that
due diligence, real.
We about to get into that. That's where I'm at. So good conversation starters. Let's just talk about it. I don't think that anybody is surprised, but let me ask you guys this, right? Where did it go wrong? And then we'll start talking about the future. But because the where did it go wrong part could be the hiring. It could be his attitude. I heard something today, and when I say his attitude, his bravado. I heard something today, and I thought it was so key. And I kind of spoke on this, maybe it was 2 or 3 shows ago, where it's like, I just don't think he captured the room. And what I mean by that is, Scott, I give you credit. We talk about this offline, bro. I know there are coaches who can be, man, technical, and he's not even that. But defense is such a run through a wall, put your body on the line, and I heard somebody say, I can't forget where I heard it. It was like, bro, was there a player who wanted to play football for Matt Eberflus? And not even that they didn't like his scheme, but like they literally just wanted to be physical for him.
Kenny Clark.
Yeah, I would say
Murray.
Well, there's a lot to unpack what you would just ask there. I certainly believe some of it unraveled with all the Micah stuff throughout training camp, and then obviously trading Micah right before the season started. That obviously didn't help. But I think the Joneses, I think Brian Schottenheimer, I know myself and others could give him grace on that for that first half of the season, the way it went. But after that trade deadline, when they added Quinnen Williams, and then it looked like it was starting to head in a positive direction for 3 games, I was like, I can see how they can try and sell this. But then after that, how it looked right back to how it was at the beginning of the year, I thought that's what sealed his fate, and at no point during the season did I feel like how you said, Foots, that he really had the team on his side. There's a part of me also that wonders, there's a lot of stuff with this new coaching staff that they did from training camp on throughout the season during practices, whether it be to hype up the team, a lot of stuff. I'm sure you guys saw the videos. Eberflus was never into any of that. And it almost felt like from afar, looking back at the entire season, that maybe he leaned into like some good cop, bad cop stuff with like Schottenheimer or whatever. And the thing I point to is, I know how sports fans are because I'm a sports fan. Because this went poorly, I don't sit there and act like Matt Eberflus was never a good defensive coordinator and that he didn't know ball, because I have somewhat similar feelings. He's never been on this level, so I'm not making apples to apples comparison here, but I still believe Bill Belichick is the greatest football coach of all time.
Absolutely.
And if it's not him, I mean, for the NFL wise, I think overall, maybe it's Nick Saban, but it's between them two for me. And I think there's a lot of people that saw what Bill did at the end, not at UNC. That's totally on another. I'm talking about the end in New England, and think that he can't coach. And I don't think that's what happened. What I think happened is the game and the players have changed, and a lot of that kind of hard ass, I'm my way, and that's it. I don't care. I don't even want you to like me. You're just going to listen and almost fear me a little bit. That day's gone. And I feel that way with Eberflus a little bit, like the teaching and the way he wanted to do things just isn't a fit for today's player. And so that doesn't mean that you weren't ever a good coach, but I just don't know how you fit with right now. And I feel that way a lot about college football right now with the whole NIL. You can tell how there's certain coaches that are adapting greatly to it. And then there's other coaches who have been good coaches for a long time. They're just like, yeah, this NIL era isn't for this coach at all. Like, it doesn't mean he's not a good coach and never was, but the times have changed. And I thought that Matt Eberflus would change with the times. Right. And it just never happened.
To your point, Mike Zimmer literally said that almost verbatim at his opening press conference with Mike McCarthy last year, where he was your typical hard ass coach all the way dating back to his early 90 times here in Dallas up to Minnesota. And even Eric Kendricks talked about how much of a hard ass he was, but Zimmer was like, hey, this is a whole new era. Like social media, the kids are different. You can't do this, you can't do that. Gave examples. And, he did adapt, but he was also met with a filter per se that was out of his control, because what happened with Dallas is they always hold over staff members from the previous regime. And, he came out and he talked about how he wished he did this and that his way and things like that. Where this, though, the reason why I do have to look at Matt like a lot is they ripped everything off and said, you get everybody you want. Right. And he brought the entire almost Chicago Bears staff with them, right? And they did all those fun things and everything like that. So I have to look even deeper than Matt, because no one stuck up for Matt. We talked about that last week. Like, who came out? I've heard people talk about Zim. I've heard people talk about Dan Quinn. No one said anything about Matt. But did you hear anything about Overstreet? Borgonzi? I'm sorry, the other guy. White Cotton, maybe, yes, because White Cotton was always out there like that. But there was like 3 or 4 assistants he brought from his previous
You'll look back, you'll be like, White Cotton helped them get Quinn and Williams. So
right.
There's a positive.
But when we heard him talk about Aiden Durde a lot back in the day, we heard him talk about Kyle Harris a lot back in the day. Who was talking about Overstreet? Who was talking about Curtis? Who's talking about Borgonzi? So it was just, obviously Matt is the head guy, but the whole staff, there should be no return. They got to rip this thing. Right. Let the new guy do his thing, and hopefully it works.
To your point, Sky, one other one I just wanted to mention real quick. Early in Micah's career, I thought George Edwards was great for Micah too.
That's another one, George Edwards. Yep. And Mike talked about that too. I think he called him Onk or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
And to the degree, I think that there should be another firing source. I think that he need to get a combo going too. And
you want to move him over to defensive coordinator?
Make him the DC.
Wait a minute.
People were saying that through the year. I'm like,
anything to throw and see with a stick.
I would not feel safe going to the Star tomorrow if they announced that.
No way. But overall, I hear exactly what all of you guys are saying. A tree is known by the fruit it bears, and none of the fruit was talking for Matt Eberflus. And Matt Eberflus didn't really move anything far. I think that if Matt Eberflus, in general, was able to be more adaptable and say, yes, I get it, I'm a zone defense, 90%, 95%. Let me just switch it up and play at least 50-50. But he didn't even do that. And everybody from the safety all the way down to the D-line regressed. But being able to talk to Matt Eberflus before the season started. He was really high on number 94. He was really high with Micah Parsons, because I was there at Micah Parsons event talking to Matt Eberflus about like what he's going to bring to the table. What are some of the things that he's going to implement and try to change? And he was very high on all of those guys. And from what I've heard is that he banged the table really hard to go get Donovan Esaraku. So those are the guys that he kind of looked for as far as trait-wise and skill sets, and it just didn't materialize for the 2025 season. So now he's gone. It's old news, and hope all is well with the Flus family and everything. But
all right, real quick, you brought it up. So
Law.
I got to add to that one real quick, Law. So I talked to him at that same event.
Yeah.
And that was well before training camp or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, man, how positive he was and everything like that. And that's not what I saw at training camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the season started. And so that made me think that he wasn't all in on a lot of stuff that they were doing, because it wasn't like his way of doing things. And then certainly the trade of Micah Parsons, at no point is he thinking that they're trading Micah Parsons. And the reason why I say that is because I will never believe that they believed that they were trading Micah Parsons up until maybe a few days before that. And so he definitely, I don't know, like, I don't want to get too much into it, but like, yeah, talking to him at that event, I was all off the record, but I was just
off
like,
the record,
man, he just seems really refreshed. Like the Chicago stuff's behind him. Reminded me a lot of the Matt Eberflus that I was around when he was the linebackers coach and defensive passing game coordinator. And then once we got out to Oxnard, man, I'm telling you, it felt like a little like good cop, bad cop, like almost like he was looking at us like, whoa, there's too much fun going on here. This is football practice. Like, we're not going to be doing all that. Yeah. And almost like he never changed or adapted from that. He was like, no, that's not how I coach. I'm not doing it that way. He comes from that Rod Marinelli tree. You think Rod Marinelli would have been out there doing that stuff? They're going through the bags and, he's high-fiving guys and he's running the bags with them. Rod's not doing that either. He would have stood at the other end of the field and be like, yeah, whenever you guys are done, come down over here by these tackling dummies. I'm not doing that stuff, And to my point of what I was saying earlier, I do think you have to have a balance, because I think that is today's player. I mean, hey, let's just, all right, let me just take it one step further, because I talked about the NIL thing.
Yeah.
Like, at least you have some discipline. You used to have some like real discipline to have to go to some type of a class back in the day.
Yeah.
What classes are any type of, and I'm only talking about NFL player type guys. They're making NFL money right now in NIL. You think that they're going into any class and sitting there in a classroom and listening to what these teachers have to say?
They wouldn't do it.
And I've heard plenty of coaches talk about this, and not just football. I mean, basketball and other sports as well. Like, especially, and then it's so much deeper than too. It's these guys now, are they coming up? They only know the social media area. So it's like, you have to, in a meeting room, you better get to your point and you better get to it quick. You don't have time for like, we've all been in classes where you've had these teachers where you're just like, holy shit, I got 45 more minutes of this. Are you kidding me right now? But you do it because you want to get the degree, because you can't play professional football. So, but like, I totally get, like, when you are in those meeting rooms, like, you can't, it has to be really quick and to the point. And I think Mike McCarthy had talked about that a lot over the last few years, but I think Shoddy's great for that, Yeah. And I think a lot of the coaches on this coaching staff are good for that. I just don't know if that's what, that's a Matt Eberflus thing, but I also wasn't in his meetings either. So,
but also, what you're teaching, is it sustainable? Is it substance? Is it good for me, for us, or whatever? And if the people are not buying into that, you're going to have, that just goes on top of what you said. You're going to have trouble getting to this generation of player. But I will say this: a lot of, or I should say, a handful of the players that had issues above this scheme or with him weren't just social media Gen Z dudes. It was some veterans as well. And Dante Fowler came out and basically said it. I think Jadeveon Clowney, even though he had his best year, I think he could have had an even better year. A rookie, a Gen Z dude, kind of came out, also mentioned, I'm rushing a certain way because that's what they're telling me to do earlier. You mentioned if Micah was still, I think he would have said something. I do know that veteran defensive back said he not buying into it. I ain't even talking about Diggs. And then you got Diggs, right? And then
I don't like grits. Right.
Ron Bland also said, I like man, y'all, but you know what? I'll do me. I'll just do whatever he said. So there's so many different players, whether it be Gen Z type players or veteran players, that kept pleading, I would imagine privately and publicly, and obviously now that he's going that, this never fit.
Right.
We never were bought in, and he could never get us to buy into what he was trying to do. On top of his personality not clicking, it just was a recipe for disaster from the rip, man.
The Micah Parsons podcast would have been wild this year.
Epic this year, yeah.
Because there would have been a part of him, because you have to factor in the whole picture. If Micah Parsons is with the Cowboys this year, you can't possibly believe he's playing without a new contract. So we're going to set it at he's making at least $42 million a year at this point. You think he's going to sit there and not say anything on the podcast when this stuff's going south and his buddy Trayvon Diggs and all these other guys, he's going to feel like I'm the face of this defense. I need to speak up for it. And I said this earlier in a radio interview. I was like, the one I point to is that Vikings game. He wouldn't have necessarily, maybe he would have, but maybe he doesn't throw Eberflus under the bus. Maybe he doesn't take any shots at JJ McCarthy and how well he played or anything like that. But the way he would have praised Brian Flores, it would have been almost like, and all the stuff Flores was doing on defense and talking about how, man, I wish we could do that. And I wish we were doing this and we were aggressive and we disguised stuff a little more like that. That by the time he was done with the podcast, that's the whole story would be, is just like, all right, well, this isn't going to end well. And when it does, Micah clearly wants Brian Flores. Like, I can just see how that stuff would have went down, you know? So I don't know if that would have been better. Maybe Matt Eberflus doesn't even make it to the end of the season.
I don't think he makes so bad. Yeah, I agree. I think Micah would have spoke up to the point where if it had been this bad, which I don't think it'd have been as bad. I think Micah helps a little.
For sure.
I don't know if he's going to help as much as, but he'd helped a little. But I think he would have got him tossed because Micah's he's the future, he's the face, he's the all pro, all world, whatever. And Flus is kind of on the back end of his career as a defensive coordinator. And I think you would go with Micah's opinion or what have you. And maybe they needed somebody, because Diggs tried that, right? Respectfully and kind of also disrespectfully behind the scenes. But Diggs ain't on that level. You don't got the juice no more. Yeah. So I bet people in that locker room was like, I mean, he ain't wrong, but it's the wrong year to do that.
Also, you get $42 million to Micah Parsons. You better believe he's going to have a say in whoever that next DC is too. Where on this team, I do think, and I'm interested to find that out tomorrow, or at least hear what they say about, in terms of, you got to be checking in with some of these guys, Quinnen Williams, others, whoever, that, what is something that you're looking for? I mean, we plan on having you here for a while.
Yeah, that's tough for me because y'all know how I feel about. I feel like they need to figure out who they want to be for a long term beyond this defensive coordinator, so we're not going through this whole back and forth.
Oh, I see, and I guess I'm being too positive with this, but I believe it's like a Dan Quinn situation. Like, I really don't think that you should want your DC to be there for. Hey, if you can get a Spagnuolo situation because the guy's like, I'm burned out. I don't coach anymore. You love it. But I just think if you're the Dallas Cowboys, your DC should be so good that with the publicity and all of the spotlight on you, that you should be right back in the head coaching hiring cycle every 2 years. Like that's the level that the Cowboys should be at. Now they're not, but that's why. But that's the way I would operate. Like, hey,
and John, there's a conundrum with that.
What's that?
There's a conundrum with that too, because that happened with Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn. The argument would be Quinn was overshadowing Mike McCarthy, so that could be at play too. We get a nice, strong defensive coordinator here, and people gonna say, well, "Why the hell we got Schottenheimer?" And that's how the thing can absolutely.
But see, my point is beyond. My point is actually setting up for that. Like, if you get a defensive coordinator that does so good, they're gone. You still have a philosophy in place, an identity in place, a foundation, DNA, whatever you want to call it, in place, to where when you replace him, it's like, hey, this is what we do here in this organization, and that coordinator fits that. So that way, when you're drafting, when you're bringing in free agents, when you have the personnel already in house, you're not having to switch up everything because that personnel doesn't fit your scheme. That's what I'm talking about. So if you get a young guy or even a Flores and he's good for 2 years and they hire a defensive coordinator, well, that next guy is part of that identity, so that we're not like, damn, we went from 4-3 to 3-4 now, or multiple now, or whatever, right? And you got to deal with that personnel not matching. That's what I'm saying. Like, they don't got it. Have a farm system if you can. If not, at least have a system in place to where the next guy doesn't have to switch up everything.
And see, for me, that's why I've been consistent. They're not going to do it, but like, going to get a college guy that you can give 3 to 4 years And because the problem is this, these drafts don't align with everybody's needs and like the type of player you're looking for. I was thinking about like, bro, Dan Quinn went to bat for Sam Williams. He out too. You get what I'm saying? Like, he didn't hit either. So it's
right.
Some of
I
this
just don't want to. I just don't look at the Cowboys.
Let's talk about it, John.
I just don't think the Cowboys should go after a young guy like that. I really don't, because
but
again,
John, are we following the trends of the NFL?
But there's two sides of this. Okay, so young guy in the NFL, he gets in Cowboys. He doesn't even know on the podium how to handle. Gives this basic answer, and it's like, well, Jerry just said this. He's never even dealt with that, let alone going into that.
You think at a defensive coordinator position, though, John, he would have to deal with that? Maybe as a head
second
coach.
guessing from Jerry, absolutely 100%. I mean, it's happened with Eberflus this year. I mean, the DC still has to talk to us every single week. And then so he deals with that, whatever. Maybe he's not cut out for that. Maybe his plan doesn't work out with the players or whatever like that. So you're moving on from that person anyway. Let's take the flip side. You found the next Dan Quinn. You found the next Raheem Morris. You found the next whoever. You think that guy's staying here if he has success after 2 years? He's gone too. He's taking the Seahawks job. He's taking the Steelers job. He's taking the Ravens job. He ain't staying there be like, no, I know I'm only 30, but my dream is always to be the Cowboys DC. He's not doing that. He's gone too.
This all matched with what Scott said, Dan. This got to be something where a principle, a system that's in place by Schottenheimer, because that's what the Shanahan's are doing. Is no matter who you plug and play.
Same way.
McVay, the same way, that defense. So this is going to be another thing.
What it sounds like,
we're going to have to let Shotty cook. We're going to have.
I was about to say, this sounds like it's going to have to be
handpicked by Schottenheimer. Yeah.
But do you have time for that?
So the head coach is gonna have to put in what he wants. You're gonna have to let him pick it, and then like Sky, you hit it. Bring in guys who do that. You know what I mean? And if you want a guy that's multiple, do that. So this would.
But do you have a year? Do you have a year available for some growing pains? Because I don't think they do.
It doesn't. But it doesn't have to be a year. Like I hate to
$60 million Dak Prescott is what Jerry thinks about. I'm telling you.
Right.
He's not going to want to be.
But why are we assuming that it's going to take multiple years? Because we're not asking them to go from 31 to 9. We're asking them to go from 31 to 18.
I'm having PTSD off of the 17 games I just watched, and then those 16 games in 2020. So I just expect the worst a little bit here. Okay.
Right. Right.
You know what's so crazy? I'm so like waiting to see on this defense, bro. I'm so waiting to see on his draft and his defense that I know what Sky's about to set up. I'm just like, I'm not getting bought into nothing.
No. I'm not. But see, I'm not saying go from.
You need to get shirts made up that say that. Cowboys fans, I'm not buying into nothing.
I gotta see it.
You know, I'm not. I don't sell the hopium. I keep it a buck, but I watched my Matt told you. I watched Man the Chargers do it. Ulbrich, now Raheem was the head coach, but Ulbrich's never been a head coach.
Yeah,
he's called defenses though in the league. You know, he's done.
He's a good name. He's a really good name.
I know. The way y'all talking, man, you already know how it's gonna roll, and I want to save it for the topic. I don't want to jump in.
Let's save it. Okay,
I'll save it. Who's gonna be the next?
This has already been an amazing. Everybody, man, this is what we wanted right here. We'll do the read. I want to get back to everybody. Give me a few traits that they want in their DC, and then we're gonna talk about some of these names. Low level, because I know high level. We got weeks and weeks to talk about it, because I don't think they're gonna make a move tomorrow, but. Low level, just a few of these names. Let's get to the read.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code HMA. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
Sleeper, use code HMA. What a great show, Cowboys Collective. Also, playoff games this week. If you're watching college basketball, that Sleeper app is so clean. It's clean. I don't recommend any other fantasy betting app in the world than Sleeper. It really is. And you guys, throw us a bone, man. Use code HMA. Think of what we talked about. Think of John's Duke Blue Devils. I mean, talk about it and go bet with Duke if you like Duke. Go bet with Duke. All right, here we go. I'm going to start with Law Nation. Law, what traits, it could be scheme, it could be just talk to me. What do you want your defensive coordinator to have for the
Oh, man.
2026 Dallas Cowboys?
Creativity, adaptability, and tenacity. We need to have all of those things, and we can make a wording for that if possible, because I think that we need to be creative with our skill sets of whatever guys we may draft, and then we have to adapt to this modern day time. I think college football is bleeding over to the NFL, so more things are spread, more things are zone stretch runs, all of the eye candy stuff that college football is doing now. That's where it's at. That's why some of these older, archaic guys are falling off in the league now. But we need to have the adaptability and the tenacity to bring it to the table. So whoever it may be, if they can have those traits, they'll be a plus for me.
Sky?
I like multiple coordinators. You get somebody here that can not just have one specific type of style. They can kind of be southpaw one week if they need to be, orthodox or whatever, right? Give me that guy. I like some aggression. I need that to match the offense, because that's, Shadi and Clayton talk about being aggressive and physical. I shouldn't have to use the term physical on defense, because everybody should. All football teams' defenses should be physical, but there is a certain brand of physicality that certain teams play with, like the Steelers, the Niners, the Ravens. Like, they have their brand of physical. It'd be nice if we could have that brand. But it's sad that you even have to say it about defense. But give me somebody that is multiple. Law touched on it, creative and aggressive for me, because I think that's the way to land. Like, if you're either going to be creatively aggressive or you're going to be creatively passive, and I don't want to use that in a bad term, but I mean like disguising, right? A lot of disguising on the back end. You may not be. Hell, I just talked about it. Jesse Minter doesn't blitz, but he's very creative in how he utilizes the blitz when he does, and how he utilizes defense. McDonald, you've been studying him for a long time. You won't catch him as a number one blitz team, but he's creative in how he utilizes his back seven as well. So give me somebody that's multiple and creative.
John?
Yeah, you guys hit on a lot of them. I was writing these down as the ad read was going, and aggressive was one of the words I used, and multiple. And I want to see someone that can disguise coverages. So it's a lot of the same stuff you guys said. The only thing I will add to it is I'm just done with, like, I don't want to hear any more about being a bend but don't break defense. Okay.
Yeah.
I need an aggressive defense that takes the ball away. And I want a defense that the opposing team talks about. Like, that they are like, yeah, well, you're going against the Cowboys, so you got to go with, like, when's the last time that's happened? So I need that. Preferably with, like, a good teacher. I would like to hear the players talk training camp during the season about how great of a teacher that coach is. And last but not least, and that's because I'm coming off of this season.
It's a good nugget, though.
Nobody starts as a DC. You start at a position.
Okay.
Can that position group be an effing strength, please?
Come on with it. Yeah.
Linebackers were so terrible this year. That was one of the hardest things for me to get past with Eberflus. Like, why aren't the linebackers a strength? Like, that's your position. Like Raheem Morris, I would expect the DBs would be of high quality.
Right.
Give me something that I can hang my hat on. Like, well, this guy's injured over here, but that this is going to be at least solid at no matter who's out there, because that's the identity of that defense. And I don't think any of this stuff that we named, I know it sounds like it's a lot, but the NFL level, that shouldn't be too much to ask for the Dallas Cowboys.
I'll be quick here. John, I didn't think anybody was going to make this point. I want somebody who understands the back end. Like, okay. I'm very specific there. Like, I want somebody who, whether that's the DC and he brings in a passing game coordinator, who I can look and see that he's marrying things on the back end, which is why the last 2 days I've done so much, and we'll start talking about names, but I really do think, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but Leonard, what he does playing split field coverages and just doing different things. And you said teacher is right. Now I wrote down something, I typed down something that Sky said, which was good, disguising things. I don't know the last time we've had a good play caller on defense. And what I mean by that is this. With Dan Quinn, we talk about Micah all the time. Y'all, I'm here to tell y'all, Micah saved a lot of people. Like, yeah, love Dan Quinn to death. I do. Play hard, run to the ball, all that stuff. There were times, Sky, me and you had these conversations when he ran into an offensive coordinator that could coach, they took Dan Quinn to the woodshed a lot. There's that difference between a defensive coordinator that's also a really good play call and knows, hey, if you watch Mike McDonald, obviously he's at the top of the list, but mentoring these guys, they know when Shanny wants to run that crosser and they're taking it away. They know they've literally sequenced, and I'm going to call this because Micah was winning so fast and he was beating double teams and getting on the edge that it made the rest of the defense look amazing. But I do like Seattle. Seattle got some dudes. They don't have that guy, right? And listen, I forget how to say his name. And Lawrence, they're not sack guys, right? But if you watch how McDonald calls it, and he drafted Nick Emenwari he literally drafted a player for San Francisco.
Hell yeah.
Literally, I'm going to be able to play nickel and keep him right in the middle of the defense so you can't do the cute stuff to McCaffrey and Kittle. I literally drafted him from South Carolina for that. So I really want somebody who's a play caller on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
And
that's interesting because you don't normally hear that used for defensive coaches. So, that's something I'll keep my eye on too as
Please,
I, study, because I don't normally hear people say, I want a great defensive play caller, because they only have a handful of plays.
Right.
Where offensively, like go look at Brian Flores'. This is his playbook on the side. He's like, and then you go look at Shoddy's, and Shoddy's play sheet is this wide on the sideline. So that's interesting. So yeah, I'll take a look at that in regards to play calling as opposed to system, etc.
Dak often talks about that a lot with Philadelphia, because obviously he's seen them a lot under Fangio. And he always says about how it's not like they do a ton of multiple things, but just what they do, they're great at. And their guys are on the same page. They know what, their assignment is, and they can execute that. And that also makes me think of like prime Bill Belichick, the way that those players would talk about him on defense. It was always like going in every week to whoever they're going to play. It would be like, okay, don't feel like you have to do all of this stuff. If you can just do these 3 things for me in this game, we'll be good. I'll take care of the rest. And just like simplified it for the players. And obviously, I mean, Bill Belichick, even if you don't think he's the greatest coach ever, he's certainly the greatest defensive coach at the very least. Just for his old time. And so I always thought that now that's probably a very rare trait for him to be able to teach and explain it like that. But there are just so many players that played for him that explained it, because I use him as an example because he's the one that obviously having Tom Brady helps, but defensively, they were always known for being one of the top teams in terms of, I mean, I get we watched film of what they did in week 4, but it's week 7 now, and there's no guarantee he's even going to do that against us. He might have this guy drop back the entire game, and like you won't even see it coming. Like, so he was so great with all of that stuff. And again, I know he's a GOAT, so you would expect that. But when I hear those things, I'm always like, that's what you want. That's the best of the best, is when they can do things like that.
I think he's the greatest, the most tactical defensive mind of we've probably had in this history of a sport, probably.
No doubt.
And for me, I think it's, I guess I don't want to dial it back. I'm not walking anything back. I guess it's knowing when to call what and the why, because you may not be blessed with, you only stumble upon a Micah Parsons every once in
right.
Year. You know what I mean? So if you're not drafting in the top 5, the chances of getting that. So I want somebody in.
No, there's definitely a point to what you're saying. Like, because when I think of a Flores or like a Vance Joseph, like there are times in games where their defense, you're just like in certain situations, you're like, I just know he's going to bring something, but you don't know exactly where it's coming from.
Exactly?
He knows in this situation, whether it be to, hey, let's try and get him out of field goal range, or hey, let's try and force them to kick a long field goal. Like, you just know something's coming. And then even if it doesn't, the opposing offense knows, like, hey, I got to be on my toes here. He's going to come with some type of thing that I might not have seen. And even in that little split second, even for an NFL quarterback, is such a huge advantage. And that's what you get out of the best DCs.
And let us not forget, man, good defenses is about communication. Defense, historically speaking, is about reacting, right? Reacting to what's going on with the offense and these sorts of things. So we haven't seen Quentin Williams this offseason in Oxnard. So when you kept mentioning about Parsons being a generational talent or a new guy that was able to help us out, whoever new defensive coordinator we got now, man, we got a young Quentin Williams that we can match up with whatever we draft with in free agency. I'm quite sure Quincy Williams is going to try to come here this offseason. We're about to be a whole different makeup on this defense, and it's about to be something sparky. But we got to have somebody that can install some communication and being able to disguise some stuff so that we can elevate ourselves. And one of the things that I forgot to mention earlier was when I got a chance to talk to Malik Hooker, communication was our biggest impediment this past season. Also, when we was talking about Trayvon Diggs being able to freestyle and be able to go off the whim and do his own, guess what? By this staff being all loyal to Matt Eberflus, they wasn't going to go against the grain because that's how they got the job to get here, right? So now all of that's going to be swept under the bridge or under the rug, and we're going to have a different type of flavor this offseason.
To your play calling point, or you know, in regards to specific times calling this and that, the Malcolm Butler interception, you know, it may not be like a bunch of plays, but it's about when you call it, what you studied, how you repped it, and Bill was so good at that, and Malcolm Butler got the interception because they understood, okay, when they're here, they like to run this and this formation, and we're going to rep this over and over and over and over. Again, defensive play callers don't have 100 plays. But can you make what's the old saying? I fear the man who
doesn't practice 1,000 kicks once. But yeah, I agree.
Hey,
I look at. Oh, you know what I went back and did today, y'all?
Mm-hmm.
Go watch what Denver did to us. Even when Pastor Tam went out, now they were getting a lot of pressure. So they were getting a lot of pressure. But
if you can do that. Shit,
but I'm gonna tell you, which I was like, man, Leonard is interesting because I was looking at the nickel because Jade Barron didn't play and Jaquan McMillan was in there. And I'm like, man, this is bland. This is some of that. And he was using him to rob everything, John. And he was like, and it was something I hadn't seen because you didn't just have two safeties sitting back. Oh, no. They were, and even with Riley Moss got 1,000 penalties, but he was in Pickens' face. Like, no, this is what we're doing. And so it's interesting because you're right, Law. We finally have a good three. We have good three pieces. It sounds like Clenny Clark will be here. Thank God.
Yeah.
So you have some stuff that you can fix. And so as we transition, we got 4 names here. Let's just go around the room. You guys aren't going to be married to your takes. And I guess I'll start. And we're just going to go with, does it feel real? Is it not? I'll rank it. Flores does not feel real to me. In the last 2 days, it just feels like he's going to be a head coach. I don't know how you guys feel about that. It just feels like with all the openings, he's going to get a head coach job, a head coaching job. That was just
on that one because of that.
The Raiders. He going to the Raiders, though.
Now you know what, Scott?
Ravens.
I did get some information off the record that I'll tell y'all. I cannot say here that he may not get a head coach job, but he might.
The lawsuits for me. That's the only thing with Flores is the lawsuit.
You think so?
That lawsuit would be the part where who knows what happens behind the scenes where maybe he doesn't get a head coaching job because of that. I don't know anything about it. Just it's been brought up several times.
I heard some other stuff too, John.
And it's some bonus points too, though, because if he get transitioned over to a head coach, Vikings get something back in return, and it can do the NFL a favor too by showing that Rooney Rule can work. Because this is the thing: when you get promoted from a head coach, from a defensive coordinator to a head coaching job, I think you get some rewards for that.
I mean, the Falcons just did that, and then they fired him 2 years later. So
actually, you know what it is? I think you get.
They upped it.
Maybe you get 2/3.
2.
Yeah, 2/3 rounds.
Because the Lions, I want to say, got 2/3 for losing
Aaron Glenn.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, Mike? The Niners got a 3rd round pick for Mike McDaniels going to Miami.
Crazy.
Wow, man.
So Schwartz feels real. Schwartz will probably be at the top of my list.
Number 1 out of this list for me.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? The Lions probably got 2/3 because they got one for Ben Johnson too. That's probably what it was. One for Glenn.
Nah, Ben's not a minority.
Oh,
What's
that's
the
right. You're right. So it
minority?
is 2/3 from Glenn.
Has to
That's
be
right. That's what it is. You're right.
Yeah.
Unless Ben got
Unless you got that Mike McDaniels.
No, you're right. It is for
Somewhere
everybody.
down, somewhere down Alaska. You gotta go look. Wait, you gotta go to Ancestry. Big Ben, baby. He was creeping.
Oh,
in
look
the
at my
house.
African American over here.
Low key, Flores is not even fully black. That's the
He's
crazy
minority though. He's minority.
Minority, man.
No, look at my African American for Ben Johnson is insane.
We will get to that drop every show. It does not matter.
I'm gonna take it out my cue, man.
I'll finish up Gannon. Now we can talk about Gannon, but I'm glad John wrote about it. Mark Schlereth was on and was like, "Yo, the Arizona screwed Gannon," and that's what his.
Break it
that's
down.
what
I
his.
need context.
He
for
really
it,
was
yeah.
just like Arizona as an organization screwed him. They're gonna end up moving on from Kyler Murray. I would take Gannon. I like what he does, and Raheem Morris for me because of the back end. So
Yeah.
I'll let you guys go. Who's realistic for you all?
Who gonna go
Schwartz of this, I think Schwartz is a super realistic because he's a former head. If we're talking about Cowboys, former head coach with a really good defensive resume, both recently and in the past. I think people forget he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles in 2017. With
Wasn't
that
that long
defense.
ago?
Who?
Yeah, it's
Jim
Schwartz.
Schwartz.
It was DC that year. If I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken.
No,
Go
he
back
is.
and check.
No, he did.
Yeah. And then obviously
These
Go ahead.
comments never disappoint.
no.
They love your drops, love it. No, Smalls HD. Gannon's got weird energy. Man, I could not agree with you more. He does have some real weird energy, man. That behind the scenes clips of him talking to the team, I'm just like, I don't
He's
know.
last on this list for me.
I'm gonna have to get that.
Oh, he's last on your list, guy?
Yeah, he's last on
Yeah,
this
he would
list
be
for me.
last on mine too, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not so obviously that matters for sure. Because again,
It
I don't
does.
want a
We just went
repeat
through
of
it, yeah.
Brandon Staley. You want to talk about
Yeah.
weird energy? Have you ever
Quirky.
seen Brandon Staley talking to his players?
No,
Quirky.
I
Oh,
need to go
dog.
back and listen to it.
I mean, what
Oh,
was
you
on
don't.
it?
He's like, hey man,
I do not
just
want him
gotta run
coaching my I want him doing the numbers, report back to me about what you see, but you leading my men, I'm good off that.
Did you ride the bus?
I'm good.
You remember that?
Have you ever heard
They
Mike
said that-
McDaniel speak though? Mike McDaniel, even though that's the offensive guy.
It's offense, though. I don't need you to get rah-rah on offense, dog. Just drop the best play and let my dudes kill it. Defense, you gotta.
they have to want to run through a wall for you,
bro.
like it matters,
I'm
bro.
not trying to play for Poindexter on that side of the ball. No, man. Come on, guys. We gotta hit them. We gotta get out of here with all that, bro.
Like
Come on,
before we started recording the show, we were talking about this, and the article I wrote, I included him because he's most recently a head coach who obviously is a DC, was a DC, had success with Philadelphia. So I just feel like the article is incomplete if you don't at least mention him. But of the four names, he would be fourth for me. If being
And again, we're having fun, but yes, of this list, yes, he's higher than maybe some other candidates, Flus. But yeah, but Schwartz for me, because Schwartz has recent success. He has a proven system. And maybe one of the biggest factors here, he ain't getting no head coach job no time soon. Like, maybe ever. So
Schwartz,
he can
that's true.
actually stick around for a good bit if he doesn't flame out like he did in Philly.
Yeah.
you guys got any interest in the Bills falling apart and McDermott becoming available?
I like McDermott.
I
But-
do.
but-
I'm
I'm
talking
biased
about
because
cover.
he
You talking
comes
about the
from-
back end? Oh,
he
my
comes from the
God.
Jim Johnson tree.
Everybody
I
comes from the
studied
Eagles.
That
Man,
Jim
now I'm
Johnson
thinking of
tree, and if I can get that, now granted, that's some Zim and some Schwartz as well. Or I think was it Schwartz or not? Not that stat. He might have been on that
Yeah,
stat.
I've always liked his coverage deals and what he does with those safeties.
McDormand,
Oh my
I think
God.
he was he in Carolina after that for a little or something, and I think he got a bad.
He was with the Eagles
KC.
for a while, a
Kansas
DB
City.
linebacker, and then he went to Carolina as
Carolina.
DC from 11 to 16 before he got the Bills job.
Yeah, I would take him in a. He's never going. He'd go get a head coach job, but I'd take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I mean, I just feel like if it's not this year, then when is it for Buffalo and Josh Allen? You know, it just seems like everything's lined up for them to make, and if they don't, maybe that organization looks at it as like, hey, well, we got to shake something up here. And so I'm just saying he could be a name that comes available that I think people would be interested in. But yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, I would say out of those four, my number one is Flores. My number two is Raheem Morris, Jim Schwartz, 3, and then Gannon.
Okay.
All right. So are these based off of who can blend well with Brian Schottenheimer too? Because
no, I just want the best defensive coordinator who can be aggressive and not bend but don't break, and that other teams potentially fear. Those are on top of my list. And then Schottenheimer fitting in with Schottenheimer's on that next tier of things.
John, can I sell you on doing the exact same thing we just did with Clayton Adams on the defensive side of the ball?
Nope. You can't. Not for me.
But John, you can't say no to that. And we just had success with this man. That's what's crazy to me.
But Clayton didn't call plays, though.
Yeah, no.
He didn't run.
But still, let me fight back.
Trust you. Leave them in that room. You know that
That's
everything's
fair.
being taken care of. They have a long track record of doing it. Don't got to worry about that. I got to be over here designing the offense. I got to be over here taking phone calls because somebody hurt themselves hanging a TV at their house.
Yeah.
By the way,
John off the top.
oh, that was you. I thought that was a drop. I'm like, what kind of drop is that? But what if I'm not against that, by the way. I'm just saying
Okay.
Clayton Adams as OC didn't call any plays. So you don't have a defensive head coach to hire a DC by name. So whatever DC you bring in, running the whole thing.
Run
So
it.
let me ask you this.
I'm on the opposite side of John, and I'm okay if they bring in a Jim Leonard. They bring in a guy who hasn't done it before in the league, but I 100% am okay with a guy who has, because there's so many stories, not stories, but there's so much history that failed head coach defensive minds have been defensive coordinators and had success. So I'm cool with that.
Where are you at, Sky, on Ed and Dirty?
I'm indifferent there because I don't. Look. You talked to your boy the other day. I don't know.
I was gonna drop some.
Yeah, I think that's a McDonald thing over there. But I do know that these guys loved him when he was here. You know what I'm saying? So but I'm indifferent. Would I pick him? No, but I can see where that could be your Clayton Adams.
Would you have him higher than Albrecht?
No, because I've studied, but I'm biased. I studied Albrecht from the Jets time, and he was on my list.
When I saw you tweet Albrecht, Sky, I jumped right on it. Here's what I will say, and I don't mean to cut anybody off.
Go ahead.
Dirty, you know Cody well, Sky.
Yeah.
He did say that McDonald actually requested Dirty, so I think that holds weight. And he said Dirty is one of the few people in the league who is great with his movement of the D line. So. That goes back to again,
and they playing that D line playing, bro.
There you
go. Murphy been Murphy though.
But they got some dogs. Yeah, they got some dogs, but they playing.
Listen, though, this is what I'm saying. Yeah. They don't have I love Seattle. They don't have a player the caliber of Micah Parsons. So it's coaching. It's literally, and I didn't.
But they got a bunch of dogs, brother.
They got some guys.
They definitely do. But think about it. If they don't have a guy that they just hang on the edge and say go get the quarterback. That's not.
But they got Murphy, Leonard, and D. Law.
For sure, but think about this. I guess
Quinn
what I'm saying is
Clark and Osa to be. If not,
I really want a coach that's going to coach the D line because
he will. Yeah,
it was more or less. This is my opinion. It was Dan Quinn saying Micah go rush and everybody else play off of that, and I don't want that. He's told me that. He tells me, well, that's what I felt. Bro, that Green Bay game, the way they were able to just
but you holding the Green Bay game, but they played
a few games.
But Dan Quinn, if I'm not mistaken, again, ask Cody this, the numbers were, I don't think any team did more stunts than the Dallas Cowboys under Dan Quinn, and that could have been Dirty. But I'm just saying, we didn't just line up and rush Micah.
Well, Dirty could have learned
elsewhere.
Well, another thing is this. I always remember with Micah how bad. Not Micah, with Quinn, how bad we played the run, and he's still watching. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Well, that's neither here nor there. That could have been personnel. So I'm just saying, with Dirty, my mind changed after getting that information that Mike McDonald requested you. I'm gonna keep saying this. Brian Haynes,
because he was here.
Yeah, he was here. Brian Haynes is my name. I know nobody wants a college coach, but I just lean to. You may not have the best personnel. Like, we don't know that Jerry's going to go crazy in free agency. We don't know how this team's going to draft. Can we devise schemes? Can we get through to these players? The biggest thing for me is getting through. So That's
Well,
my like. That's my name.
And let me just say this
better
for
get players for
let me just say this for Seattle Seahawks,
right,
the
you're right.
D-Law thing. I've been saying all year, even when D-Law was here, he just never really had that big pressure inside. But when you look at Jaron Reed, Leonard Williams, and Byron Murphy, that's why D-Law been playing lights out, because he get that free pass rush on the edge, and he just so powerful off his releases. That's what helps him out with that scheme. That scheme got a lot of big boys.
He a
down
role
inside.
player.
Yeah.
D-Law was asked to be the guy here. Then when Micah got here, there was some jealousy there, some back and forth. But he ain't asked to be the guy there. He's just asked to be like the 5th best defensive player on that defense. You know what I'm saying? That's totally different. We're asking him to be the 2nd or 3rd or 1st a lot of the times. Yeah. So he's fitting in perfect over there. But that man, Dirty, I heard it, but when John said it and you talk about it, that might be the biggest wild card, because I think it kind of in the middle there. He is technically a DC, right? But he ain't called the plays.
He don't call it.
Here in Dallas.
Yeah.
But you know what? Man. You know what? I think this is what's going to happen to meet everybody in the middle of the road. I think it's going to be that damn Aaron White Cotton here.
Oh no. Unless White Cotton, Dirty Mac, like, shot it dead.
Yeah.
I would.
Keep going.
If that's the case, I'm not going. I promise you, I'm not going to put. I'm not going to say nothing to nothing law, because I don't want to have power in my face. I would just say that if they were going to do that, if that was a thought, they probably should have fired Eberflus earlier and just see how.
If that was a thought, those final 2 games, he would have been calling the defense.
That's what I would have done.
Eberflus is up in the box. He's calling the defense from the side. You could easily have let him do that. And
that's what I would have. Yep, John.
Well, get an Easter egg, man. Why Quentin Williams so happy there? What he talking about? What he got up his sleeve?
Because Eberflus gone, man.
Yeah, it should be just anything's better.
Anybody better.
The players know. Listen, I'll take that, Crow. Like, because Quentin is as professional as it comes. The players know. So I'm not trying to be. Listen, they didn't want, and that matters. Again, I'm going to say it, bro. Mm-hmm. If they don't want to play for you, and like, I think there are a few ways you can go about this. When a coach is a great teacher, you want to play for that guy. Mm-hmm. When a coach can turn you up and you a dog, then you want to play for that guy. When you get a little bit of both, I don't know. Real quick, as we close this out, give me your, just right now, because we're going to talk about this, but who do you right now think will be the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator in 2026?
But go ahead.
I'll go. I think it's going to be Raheem Morris. I don't think that Raheem Morris gets another job. And I think that they'll look at Raheem Morris. He's from the Fangio tree. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. The defense in Atlanta did turn around, but he screwed himself with the Kirk in the court.
He was from the Tampa 2 tree, but
he apparently got some of that Fangio stuff from somewhere.
Well, a lot of it's only a couple they mock it. Zim, Fangio. People say Flores, but Flores got some Zim to him. But yeah.
So I'm gonna say it's gonna be Raheem Morris, especially. I don't think it'll be Flores. I don't think so. So I think I'm gonna go Raheem Morris. Law, who you going?
Boy, that's tough.
That Raheem Morris will be a 2-for-1, because he'll fit right on in if we be able to hire him, and then 2-3 years from now we get multiple 3rd-round draft picks for him. So yeah, I would like Raheem Morris, but my number one guy would be, if it's me, I don't want to jinx it, but so I'm gonna just say it's gonna be Jim Schwartz. Going to be your new defensive coordinator here.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'm going off what the Cowboys do, Jim Schwartz just feels like the guy of realistic possibilities. Would I love to go, opposite of what they've done? I mean, it's been how many consecutive years of former head coaches as DCs? It's been since Rob Marinelli, I think, or whatever. Maybe before that, I can't remember. But yeah, Rob Marinelli. So they haven't went opposite of that. But I did say this on Twitter. I think if there was a year to do it, Shoddy could potentially be the guy to kind of buck that trend because of what happened on the other side of the ball. Granted, they always let them do their thing on offense, but they got to show me that they're going to do that. Until then, this feels like a Schwartz deal. Morris would be awesome, but again, I do think Morris has a potential to be a head coach again. Some team would do it because he's still young-ish. He has that energy. He'll win a room. He's done it. He'll win a room. I think Schwartz is the old, dirty guy. I don't want to do nothing but call defense now, man. I already had my time in the sun, and I feel like they would like something like that.
And you know what, Scott, to your point, before you go, John, I think Schwartz can still win a room too, though.
Hell yeah.
That's the difference. I think even though he's
defensive
older,
room.
I think defensive room.
Yes,
Nah,
yes. I meant I think Morris could win a front office to be a head coach.
Oh yeah,
is what I'm
yeah.
saying. Where Schwartz is, I think that's past. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Because he might get hired to be a Tennessee coach or some shit. I don't know.
Hey, it's Jason Garrett's job, man. You better be careful with that. Jason Garrett going to Tennessee, baby.
I think it could be any of these four. I wouldn't dismiss Gannon with his connections with Clayton Adams. But I think it will be Raheem Morris if he doesn't get a head coaching job. And if he does, then I think Jim Schwartz probably makes the most sense there. But I would love Brian Flores. That's the one I'd want, especially if they go out and get like a super aggressive, established safety that can do multiple things. Like he obviously has in Minnesota. I would love to see that because it's been too long since they've had something like that. But any one of these four wouldn't surprise me. I don't think that there's definitively any one or the other. But if it wasn't one of those four, I'd be a little surprised.
Ulbrich is also a wild card because of Quinnen. So
yeah,
and then there's the Quincy Williams tie. We need linebacker help. Granted, I think he got some health things, but Ulbrich got super years out of Quincy Williams and Quinnen Williams. So that could be something really interesting. And I think he's a fantastic coordinator. So.
I've literally heard nothing bad about Jeff Ulbrich. And I've done a lot of digging. Like people love that guy.
I'm gonna look up some clips on him, Dan. Ulbrich, right?
Jeff Ulbrich.
Yeah. Jeff Ulbrich. Okay.
All right, guys, I'll let you go. John, I think he wants to get back to his Duke game, or I don't know.
No, it's over. They already won.
He's smiling. He's cheating. Hey, man, what a great show. We will see you guys Thursday. Enjoy your evening. Run this back for the cardio, as my brother Vosh Lombardi would say.
Hey.
Skywalker Steele, Law Nation, John Machota, Footsdaking, the best podcast in the world.
That law.
That is law.